Welcome everybody. Welcome to this meditation on cord cutting and releasing the past. It's lovely to have you all here. A very brief introduction, and then I'm going to provide all of you with a slideshow, very short one, just to kind of go over the concepts of the energy body and also to explain what cords are, how they're formed. Very, very brief. And then we will go into the meditation. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Perfect. Lovely. So I will introduce myself first. My name is Jessica, for those who don't know me, and I am a holistic therapist, hypnotherapist, regression therapist, and transformational coach at Illuminations JLT. It's an honor to be here today. I love this meditation and I'm very passionate about energy work. So it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you all. It really means a lot that you're all here to join. So with that, let me just share my screen. I would very much appreciate, just to avoid any outside noise, if we can all mute for the time being. If you do have any questions, please feel free to write on the chat. Or if I'm obviously talking for the slideshow purposes, you're of course welcome to interrupt me if you have a question. But once the meditation starts, if we can all please mute at that time, that would be great, just so that we all have the best experience. All right, let me just share my screen one moment. Okay, can we all see the screen? Cool. If anybody can't see the screen, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll take it all as a yes. Okay, so welcome once again. So in this meditation, for those of you who may not be familiar, some of you may have done this meditation multiple times, and some of you, this may be the first time. So for whoever or however many times you've done this, or minimal times that you've done this, welcome. For those who maybe are not so familiar with it, we work in this meditation with clearing energy attachments in your body. And these energy attachments may be to other people, it may be to places, it may be to situations, and it may be to belief systems. Cord cutting is a very powerful process, and it works with the subconscious mind to move and clear away any negative attachments. When we do this, of course, it helps you to reinstate your energy and your power for true freedom. And don't we all want that? The same way that there may be energy attachments coming to you, you may also have attachments to others. And the intensity of it, you may not even be aware of yourself. So in this meditation, we gently remove all of these cords. What I like to reiterate from the very beginning with this meditation is, and I hope that through this meditation, this understanding comes to you as well, is that we don't need to attach ourselves to outside influences to receive energy. Everything that we need is within. Our greatest resource is always within. Now, during this meditation, you may feel emotions that bubble up. It can happen. It does quite often happen, and this is perfectly normal. Releasing the cords can be a very emotional process. I will go at a pace that is very slow and gentle. But yeah, you know, like I said, for some of you, it may take more time than others, and that's okay. So all I ask, the only prerequisite to this meditation is please be gentle with yourself. This is deep work. So, all right. So as mentioned, energy, cord cutting, and releasing the past. Now, again, for those who this may be a first time, just a little bit of background information on the energy body. And to understand the energy body, we need to sort of understand all of the subtle bodies that exist within our system. So basically, we understand that we have a mind. The mind is essentially what runs, is the software that runs the hardware, which is our body, which is our brain. And this comes from Vedic, from yogic science, this understanding that we have something called subtle bodies. So subtle bodies are basically, we go through these main four, but subtle bodies in terms of depending on which philosophy you follow, there are some cases that say we have thousands of subtle bodies, but we tend to focus on these specific four because these are the main four. And as I said, I'm not going to go too much into detail, but just this is to give you an understanding so that when we do the meditation, you can have the best experience with this background of knowledge. So the first body is what we call the thought body. This is the first the first, what we call like subtle body. All right, we obviously can't see this particular body, but this is a very powerful body. And this is essentially our thought body, as in this is the part of us that goes wherever our thought goes. So the mind uses thoughts to control what we understand as this causal body. So it can be causal body, it can also be called mental body or body of causality. Very, very brief example, because I think an example is the best way to understand this body. So if you imagine, I'm currently living in Dubai. I don't know if everyone else is in Dubai or maybe in India, but I'd say that most of you, if not all of you, would know the Burj Khalifa. So if you were to take just a moment, eyes open or eyes closed, and imagine that you are standing at the very top of the Burj Khalifa. And if you can imagine that, now perhaps some of you, this may remind you of a recent advertisement that Emirates has done, Emirates Airlines, where there's actually a crew, someone dressed as an Emirates crew who is standing at the very top. So we actually get a visual of what that can feel like. And I think many people thought it was unreal. It was done through computer graphics, but it actually turned out to be true. So we know that it's possible to stand at the very top. So if you haven't seen it, that's okay. Imagine what your mind would create if you were thinking, okay, what would it feel like, seem like if I was standing at the top of the tallest building in the world? And in that moment, if you can imagine yourself standing at the top of the Burj Khalifa, and if I suddenly brought your senses into it, so I started to say, imagine that there's a very, very cold wind at the nape of your neck, and it's very chilly, and it's all the small hairs on the back of your neck are raising, and you feel this sudden shiver down your spine. And your heart is pounding as you look down, and all you can see is the smog and the much lower high rises. And you can look out and see the vast desert, and you take a deep breath in. And I start to engage your senses in less than 2 minutes. You will start to feel that very same breeze. You will start to feel the remnants of like a chill at the back of your neck, or the goosebumps, or your heart will start to pound a little. So what actually happens is, this is the causal body. That the minute you started to think of yourself on top of the Burj Khalifa, the minute you kind of stationed yourself there, your causal body went straight there. And that is actually on top of the Burj Khalifa as you are imagining it. Hence why the physical experience comes shortly after. So the best way to think of it is, this is the body that travels with thought. The minute you think something, the causal body is there. It is also this body that creates deja vu moments. So as an example, I'm sure we've all had this experience. You're thinking of a friend, or you're talking to your parents about a friend of yours that you haven't seen in a long time. All of a sudden, phone rings, you pick it up, and it's that very same friend. And it's this, oh my gosh, I was just talking about you. So what's happened here is the same. The causal or the mental body has traveled ahead. And well, actually 2 things can happen here. Number one is, either your causal body went to that particular friend the minute you thought about him, and it stimulated him, and that is what caused him to pick up the phone and call you. Or it is the reverse, is that his causal body actually came to you, and that made you think of him, and then vice versa. And then obviously it was reciprocated, and he picked up the phone to call. So it can go either way. The moment you decide to take a decision, this is also very much based in decision making. The moment you take a decision in your mind to do something or to... Yes,
sorry to interrupt you. So you said that it could go either way for the causal body. So does that mean that if, for instance, I'm thinking about somebody and then they reach out to me, or did you mean the other way, that if they're thinking about me and I reach out to them?
Yes, so it can go, most of the time it's either that your causal body went to him and that stimulated him and then he called you, but sometimes it's actually that he thought of you, and that's why, or his causal body has come to you, that's why you've thought of him, and then he's picked up the phone to call you. That kind of makes sense. So it kind of like is like an energy transaction, but his causal body may have come to you, you've picked up on that, let's say, that presence of his causal body, and you've been like, oh my gosh, it's been a long time since I've seen him, but by that stage he's already picked up the phone to call you.
Okay.
So essentially who's actually started it can kind of be like the argument of the chicken and the egg, which came first, but the whole idea is that there was a resonance that started with one energy source, either that person or either you. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Cool. Perfect. So the moment you take a decision to do something in your mind, again, your causal body already goes there, which is why essentially remote viewing is possible. And also this causal body is the basis for telepathy. So the ability to be able to place yourself in a situation. There are many documentaries on this, how it's been used in war, how it's it's a skill that needs to be taught, and needs to be practiced, but it absolutely is possible. But this is utilizing the causal body. Again, we can get into this much more deeply, but just keeping conscious of the time. So we understand that this is a thought body. Now, thoughts, when we think of something, or when we think of something consistently, this thought creates an emotion. So what happens next is that the mind uses emotions to control rather the next body, which is the astral or the emotional body. Now, again, best way to understand this body is to give you an example. So primarily, let's look at a woman with a child, because this is probably where you will see the strongest examples of an astral body. So we have, let's say, a working woman who gets pregnant. Obviously, after 9 months, she delivers and she goes on maternity leave. And within 2, 3, 4 months, she has to go back to work. And we have a baby that is very much still on a breastfeeding cycle. The child may be home with the nanny, and then the child starts to feel hungry. Now, we've seen this a lot, right? What happens? The child is hungry, the child starts to cry. And what actually happens on the other side of town is that the breast of the woman who is at work starts to generate the milk, starts to produce the milk. Now, in this case, what's happening? The emotions of the mother are completely encased around the child. The mother's holding, there's so much of the mother's energy, there's so much of the mother's essence and resonance that is currently surrounding the child, especially at that primal age. So the minute that there is an unsettled feeling in the child, the minute the child is hungry or restless or sick, quite often you will see that the mother will pick up on it. And we often dismiss these things as mother intuition, woman's intuition, which is very much the same. It's just a different name for the same feeling, but this is essentially what is happening. In these kinds of cases, you are experiencing the influence of the energy body. And so, sorry, the emotional body, excuse me. And so often, and this is another prime example, I've actually just seen this the other night about a child that went missing for about a month. And in an interview, the child was under 5 years old, I believe. In an interview, the mother was interviewed alone, and she kept claiming that the child was alive. She said that it's just a feeling that I have and I can't explain it, but I know that my child is alive. And at this point, the child had been missing for about 2 weeks. So of course, the likelihood of the child being found wasn't, to put it mildly, that the situation didn't look so likely at that point. So the police officers and people surrounding the investigation were not so positive. She was very adamant that her baby was still alive, and ultimately it found out that the baby was found alive despite all odds. And in an interview post the investigation, she claimed that she just knew. She was like, there was a sense in me that I know when my child is alive, and she was adamant about that. So what's happening here? This is the emotional body, the mother's energy that surrounds the child, and brings a certain amount of certainty to knowing the state of the child's own experience, or the state of the child's own emotional body. So we have this, and then we have emotions. We understand emotions, if we were to split the word, as energy in motions. Energy that is moving around the body is ultimately affecting the chakras. So I would presume that most people here would know little to generally what a chakra is and what it does. Chakra is essentially the energy wheels in the body that work with the systems in the body, the physical systems in the body. So emotions affect these chakras, and the mind uses the chakra to control the aura, which is the next body, the etheric body or the energy body. Now, this is pretty simple and quite easy to prove, more so than to feel it, because you can photograph it now. So I don't know if all of you have experienced it yourself. If not, I highly recommend it, but you can actually go and get your own aura photographed. You are able to see the colors, you are able to see the energy, and it's remarkable. So technology has come a long way in that regard. And that is what we call the aura, or the etheric body, or the energy body. And of course, that is the body that we are working with in this particular meditation. Now, chakras working with the systems, obviously these systems affect the brain, and the mind uses the brain. As I said, mind is the software, brain is the hardware. The mind uses the brain to control the physical body. And this is where we get to, of course, the most tangible of bodies, the body that we obviously perceive and utilize with all of our senses. Okay, so these are the four main bodies. As I mentioned, causal, astral, etheric, and physical. Today, though, with cord cutting, we work with the etheric or the energy body. In other types of healing, you may find that there'll be that the facilitator will work specifically with one of these bodies. Obviously, as an example, if you go to an allopathic doctor, you're working with the physical body and so on and so forth. So energy cords, what are they? How are they formed? Energy cords are invisible threads of energy that attach people to other people, situations, places, and experiences due to a strong emotional connection or resonance. Also important to note that it's simply a matter of an energy investment that can cause a cord to form. And by energy investment, anything that requires you to put a lot of energy into performing this certain, whether it's a mental act or a physical act. As an example, there is a lot of an investment of energy required when you judge someone. There is a lot of energy that goes into judgment. There is a lot of energy that goes into resentment. There is a lot of energy that goes into being angry with someone. So these kinds of heavy energy investments will create cords or can create cords. And obviously, strong emotional connection can be different to a resonance. You can have a very strong connection with somebody that maybe you can't necessarily explain logically, and that can create a cord. And then there can be a resonance. So there can be somebody that you feel a great amount of sympathy or empathy towards, and that can create a cord in itself as well. And of course, these are very unconscious. So signs of energy cords. Obviously, these are energy cords that are causing us have negative consequences. Yeah, so there are energy cords that are very healthy, that good healthy relationships, and of course we're not looking at severing those cords. These are situations where there are negative outcomes to having these energy cords, and when it's essentially long past the time that these cords should have been cut or removed. And so some of these signs are low or depleted energy. So this can cause a leakage of energy. Leakage meaning that obviously if you've got a cord that's attached to another person, then you are essentially experiencing leakage from their system as well as yours, right? Because there's something in you that is not all you. There is unexplained depression or sadness. These can be, not always the case. Obsessive thoughts, constantly speaking negatively about someone. You've seen people that may put so much energy and effort into constantly demeaning a certain person, whether it's because of resentment or annoyance or whatever it may be. But this is an energy investment. It's a huge one, actually. Compromised immune system and addictive, unhealthy, comfort-seeking behaviors. So addictions are very much signs of energy cords that may necessarily be to an object, not even to a person or a belief system, or as a situation or a trauma. So the connection of the cord is often felt in the presence of that with which it is attached to. As an example, if you feel that you have a cord or an energy attachment to your previous partner, you'll often find that if you are standing in their presence or you physically get close to them, you can experience this pull. And sometimes people experience it in the heart, sometimes people experience it in the stomach or around the solar plexus chakra, which I'll get to shortly. So feeling where the cords are connected in the body is indicative of the state of the relationship and or the dynamic of the connection. So what does this mean? That where the cord is placed or connected to you in the body, in your body and in theirs, can actually tell you a lot about the dynamic of the relationship. So there's a very different dynamic between someone who has a cord that is connected from heart to heart, as opposed to someone who has a cord that is maybe connected to an ex-partner, which is from stomach or solar plexus to solar plexus, or solar plexus to heart, or solar plexus to sacral. So most of the time you will see these energy cords are connected to the chakras, and this can actually give you a lot of information about the dynamic of this particular relationship or this particular connection. Cord removal is not necessarily, this is very important, it is not necessarily severing a connection with a person. So a lot of people come to these meditations sometimes under the impression that, like, if I cancel this or if I cut this cord, then I no longer have to see this person, or this person won't want to interact with me anymore. This is not how it works. I have seen very strange things. When I say strange, I mean very sort of quick changes in situations where people have done this meditation. So perhaps, you know, that the behavior of the person changes very quickly, or suddenly they feel more at peace around that person. These things can happen, but it's not that suddenly tomorrow this person won't know you or won't want to talk to you necessarily. So it's not necessarily severing a connection with a person, but healing an emotional attachment that has crossed a boundary, which may now be affecting you negatively. So I'll say that again, it's about healing an emotional attachment that has crossed a boundary, which may now be affecting you negatively. Yeah. So when we have an emotional attachment to someone, that is not necessarily having a negative consequence, but then it can turn negative when there is a boundary that is crossed. We no longer necessarily understand or are able to maintain that boundary, and then there are energy leakages, and this can obviously create negative consequences. So quickly, how the process is done. We acknowledge the cords without judgment. We do not cut the cords. Now, when I say we, I'm kind of referring to me. I fully respect and understand other practitioners may like to cut cords, and I don't find any issue with that. But in my meditations, I don't cut them, I remove them. Now, cord cutting is kind of the most common name, so even I tend to say it. But in the meditation, you will see that I don't actually pull out a pair of scissors. I won't ask you to do the same. I remove the cords. So I remove them fully, roots and all. And the reason why is that if you do use scissors and you do cut the cords in the meditation, sometimes by cutting, even if you try and cut as close to the skin, or you know, you imagine that you're cutting, pretty much you're cutting and removing, what happens is that if there's still a part of it that's inside your body, then it's very easy for that resonance to grow and that cord to reconnect. And obviously we don't want that. So it's more important that it's considered to be like pulling out a weed. You're pulling everything out, roots and all. It's not just cutting. Obviously, in this process, there is no ill intent. We do not cut the cords with any intention of hurting anyone or pulling people away or pushing people away. This is simply about sending the energy back to where it came from so that we can step back into our own power. You are actually doing the other person, if the cord is with another person, you actually do them a huge favor as well, because by sending it back, you send back their life force and you send back their own power to them, which is a huge resource to them as well. And obviously the last stage is we ensure that all holes that may be void by the cord removal are filled appropriately. So this will be done symbolically in the meditation, as you will see. But we always ensure, of course, if you can imagine it logically, if you pull out something that has been within your body, then there is going to be some kind of gaping hole or gaping space, and that needs to be filled. So we always ensure that we don't skip that step. Okay. So that's for the end. I am going to open Zoom again. One moment here. Okay. I'm just going to stop the screen share because I think that will be best as we do the meditation together. And then afterwards, I will put that screen back up. And if there are any questions, if we have the time, or if anybody has the time and you want to ask anything, you will be able to ask after. So I'd like all of you now, if we're all good and ready, to find a very comfortable space. I'll give us all a few moments and we will begin. So as mentioned before we start, if there are any emotions that bubble up as we move through this process, please understand this is normal. Please be gentle with yourself and be open to what comes. So let's settle into a comfortable meditation posture, whatever feels best for your body at this moment. Okay, so gently invite the eyes to close, the mind to settle, and the body to relax. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Open your mouth and let it go. And as you begin to find stillness here, bring your attention to your breath. Take a few moments here to connect to your breath, following its natural rhythm in and out of the body. On your next inhale, follow your breath into your inner world and just observe what is present for you in this very moment. What emotions and sensations are here? What have you brought with you into this session? Give these emotions and sensations the space to express themselves fully. And now find that still place within you, that quiet place where everything is undisturbed. Recognize this place as a place of refuge that is always there, no matter the challenges you are facing, no matter how severe the storm in the outer world. This is a safe space, and it is a space for you to settle as deeply as you can into this inner stillness. Now, using your imagination, look for a door that leads to a new environment. Let this door fully appear in your mind's eye. Notice the shape, the size, the material that it's made of, and notice the style of the door handle. And as you reach forward, open the door and step through and close the door behind you. Begin to see yourself in a new environment, outdoors. It's nighttime, you see, but the landscape is illuminated by the bright silvery light of the full moon. There is no one else around. This is your space. The air is warm and still and filled with a sweet fragrance of night flowers in bloom. In front of you lies a still pool of water, and reflected in it is the light of 1,000 stars. Take a moment to notice all the tiny details in your environment. Allow it to become more vivid and real. As you start to walk towards the pool of water, gently sit on the edge, and you'll notice that there are healing qualities in this clear pool of water. And you admire how it sparkles in the moonlight. You move your attention to your breath and observe natural rhythms of exhales and inhales. And just notice the small pauses in between your breaths. As you breathe, you draw in energy and light from the stars. Allow it to swirl and move through your body, through bones and muscles and organs. Draw more light through each and every breath. As you fill yourself up with this luminous glow, you become aware of a bubble of energy around you, your own energy body. Tune in to this subtle layer of the self and use your senses to connect to this energetic cocoon all around you. As you become aware of the places in your energy body where unhealthy cords may be attached. See and feel these cords however they want to appear. There is no right or wrong here. You may sense these cords as fine branches, pipes, or even ropes. You may have a feeling as to where the cords are connected to, or you may not. It doesn't matter. Approach this practice with a gentle curiosity. Feel into these energy cords and notice whatever comes. As these energy attachments come into your body, as they become more visible, more tangible, you may sense them as hooks, arrows, plugs, anchors, or any other connection types. Be non-judgmental with whatever you find as you gently explore these attachments. And now, as you take a deep breath in and repeat to yourself, I reclaim my own energy now. I release the past and forgive those who still have a hold on me. And I forgive myself for allowing them to. I release these cords and attachments now. I release these cords and attachments now. Begin to breathe a little deeper and fill yourself up with even more light. And repeat, every day I have the power to choose. And today I choose to let go of whatever is no longer serving me and the emotions that connect me to it. I breathe in and I let go. May all energy return to its source with power, peace, and forgiveness. And if you sense that one of these attachments is to a person, just repeat, I free and release you with a full heart, with love for the place you once held in my life. I now take back all the energy that has been taken from me or that I have given away, and I return the energy that I still hold from you. May we both be free from the ties that bind us. I choose to release your energy from all of my energy fields. I hold you in the light of forgiveness. All is well. Peace be with you, and I am at peace. I ask that this is complete and sealed now. So it is. And as you take a deep inhale, you exhale very slowly as the light begins to push out all of these attachments. And you feel them begin to release and disconnect from your energy body, right at the very root. Place your hand over the cord as it disconnects and feel the entire process happening. You may feel sensations such as heat or coolness, or emotions may rise up, and that's okay. Just keep breathing deeply and allowing all of these cords to be removed from your energy body. You're doing so well. Now imagine you can reach for one of the disconnected cords and hold it in your hands as you dip it into the healing pool of water. Just for a moment. Now gently pull on the cord so that it stretches like a rubber band, and then let it go and send it back to where it came from. As you repeat, thank you, I release you. Thank you, I release you. Repeat this process with all the remaining cords. Take your time and send them back to where they came from. Release any last cords now. Take a deep inhale and a full exhale as you begin to dip your toes in the pool of healing water and feel the warmth of it begin to nourish your whole body as you slowly lower yourself in. You feel so held and so supported by the water. You lie on your back and watch as you float effortlessly in this pool, admiring the blanket of stars above you. Feel as this water slowly fills any gaps or holes in your energy body, filling them in with fresh new energy so that your energy body is round and clear and smooth. Soak in the depth of these healing waters for just one more minute as your mind becomes as still as the water. And now inhale deeply and exhale fully as you feel the shift in your body and your mind. And in this moment, you make a commitment to be unapologetic with your boundaries, to release and repel any situations or people who drain your energy, to protect your own precious energy, to remember you are strong, beautiful, and powerful exactly as you are and were always intended to be. And as you begin to swim out of the pool, you thank the healing waters for soothing your body and your mind as you let yourself dry in the warm air, bathed in the glow of the moonlight. And you know that it is time to leave now. So you start to look for the door that you came in through. As you let the door form in your environment, notice its shape, its size, and its color. And as you slowly walk towards the door, reach for the door handle, open it up, walk through, and close the door behind you. As you ever so slowly bring yourself back to the space that you are in right now, lovingly call all parts of your consciousness back to you right now. Gently feel the firmness of the ground beneath you, the temperature of the air around your face, as you wiggle your fingers and toes, and maybe yawn or sigh or do whatever feels good for you in this moment, coming back to this space. Take as long as you need here, and when you're ready, you can allow your eyes to open.
That was really amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just a little word, guys. First things first, these meditations are very powerful and very much deep healing, and it can be common, especially after this one, that you may find people from the past reaching out. If this does happen, don't be surprised, just be aware. Please drink lots of water today. Please get rest. And as says on the screen, please be gentle with yourself. This is the most important part. And well done. It takes a lot of courage to be here and to go through these processes. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all for joining me today. If there's any questions, I'm here. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Could you share your social media handle?
Sure. It might be easier to type it.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. 1 second. Oh. I'm terrible with Zoom. Apparently, it's not letting me open up again. 1 second.
I think you have to stop sharing first.
Ah, that's a good point. Stop share. Sorry, guys, I'm not the most tech person. Okay, I will put it in the open so that everybody can read it. Let me just check, actually. Make sure that I give you, there we go. Okay, so it's just my first and my last name.
Perfect, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, well, thank you all again. So if any of you wish to contact me after, if anything comes up that either, in the evening or through dreams, or any questions that may come up later on, you're always free to message me. On Instagram is fine, or also contact me through Illuminations is also fine. And I wish you all a lovely evening. I hope to see you all in future webinars and seminars. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. So please take care. Have a lovely evening. And thank you, girls from Illuminations. I'll leave it here.